Hey, it's the Rican, and I have Jen Rivera from VVeOutside. I'm happy to finally have her on. We've been trying this for about 2 weeks now, and something's always come up between one of us. So I'm glad to have you finally have you on.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So yeah, first I wanted to get into. I know you live stream on Instagram,
Hmm.
and I know you have your show. What does the VVE stand outside stand for? Like, what's your
Um,
how did you start it?
so um, we find it. I find we. It's the VV is visions and views,
Okay.
and well, the reason why we have We Outside is because during the lockdowns we were inside, and then there was this meme that came out where this girl was like, "We outside," like after everybody got, I would say, let out of lockdown. And then so I started protesting with the New York Freedom Rally, and I linked up with Bruno, who's my co-host on We Outside,
Okay.
and there was a video when we first started where I'm screaming, "We outside, we outside," and then I told Bruno, we need to start a live stream so we can start talking to people with like regular people who have opinions and need a voice and want to, because a lot of us are like-minded, but a lot of us don't speak out because when we speak out, we're combative. We speak out, we're complaining, we're this, we're that. So he was like, let's just call it We Outside. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I like that. So it's We Outside, but somebody already on Instagram has the W. So we
Okay.
put VV, so it creates a W,
Okay.
but the two V's mean visions and views. So that's how it started.
Oh, that no, that's clever. That's why I started my right Rican because I was like, well, I'm not a Republican because I'm more of a libertarian. So
Mhm.
I was like, okay, the right Rican, and it's it's catchy,
Yeah, I like it. I really do.
and it's like I have the whole thing with the both flags
I
because
like that
you know
too.
what I'm proud of being Puerto Rican, but I'm also proud of being an American,
Me too.
and it's like the Constitution is like people want to shit on it nowadays, but it's a great it's you look at what other people had, like you talked about the lockdowns. They're still doing lockdowns in China. The lockdown in Canada lasted how long?
I want to
I
say like
mean,
8 months, 9 months.
well, they were still locking people down well, they still had curfews
Yeah,
up till I think like it was like June or something like that. They were
they're
still
still
doing
going.
lockdown.
They still
I
they
mean, till
actually
like April, May, they were
they
still
still
doing
going
lockdown.
through it. They
Yeah,
still going
no.
through it.
I interviewed someone. I interviewed a pastor from literally. It was 3 days before he got arrested. I interviewed him
Wow. See,
because he was still doing church services,
right.
and they came to his church, and he told them, "Nazis, get out."
I know. I saw. I think I seen. He had a video. It went viral, right?
It went viral. Yes, I called him. Yeah, I just so happened to get him on. I was lucky, and he.
That's
Um,
awesome.
but I haven't been able to get him on since after he got out of jail.
It's because he's so famous now.
Now he blew up, and it's like,
He blew
oh
up.
well, I got it before that.
At least you got it.
Yeah. But yeah. So speaking of Constitution, I know on your channel you've recently been talking about like how you got into guns and with everything going on with the Dems trying to pass their usual gun confiscation. They want to call it gun control, but
Mhm.
they call for the same thing every single time is they want to ban guns.
Right. So yeah, I'm one of those people. I want to say that when you tell me no, I'm gonna say okay, now I want it, because I feel like, again, um the amendment, I mean, our constitutional rights right now are being infringed on another level, and they're lying to the people to let people think that it's is subjective, that it's how they want to spin it. And so once I saw the A2 being in jeopardy for myself, I said, I want to get into it. I want to understand what being a gun owner means. And so now I do know. And what I do know is that the people committing these crimes, um, on a mass level, do have psychological issues, uh, but it's not the guns. it's the people behind the guns. And I know a lot of gun owners, and it's a whole sport, and safety is key. And it's kind of like karate, or like boxers, professional boxers can't fight people in the regular street,
No.
right? Because they can potentially kill somebody. Correct. So with gun ownership, it's the same level. It's a whole culture. It's a respect too, and it's also a skill set of, you have to be calm, you have to focus. You can literally, it's like meditating when you go out to the
Oh
range.
yeah, it's relaxing. I lived in Texas for 6 years,
Hmm.
and that's when I got my first gun. And I mean, the culture out there, like they always try to they always try to make it like a white, black, Latino thing. And let me tell you, one of the most diverse places is a public gun range, because
Hmm.
everybody's broke. So you go into a public range where it's cheap,
Hmm.
and you see blacks, you see Latinos, you see Chinos, you see everybody there.
Right.
Well, I shouldn't. Well, up here I'm in the Poconos, so I've seen it here in the Poconos. I've seen
Mhm.
it in Texas. Um, so to me, I go, when you tell me you just want to, when you they want to ban semi-automatic weapons, and I
Mhm.
go, you
The AR.
obviously don't know. No, not just ARs. Uh, I'll show you one of my videos later.
Okay.
There's a politician. He goes, they're interviewing him, and he goes, well, yeah. Do you want to ban semi-automatic weapons? And he goes, yeah, I want to ban semi-automatic weapons. And she goes, then the reporter goes, that means that you're going to ban handguns too. And he
Yeah.
goes, no. He goes, under my legislation, we wouldn't be banning handguns. It's like, you don't know what the hell you're talking about,
Yeah,
because
they have no idea.
99% of guns are semi-automatic.
And I'm still learning, so I'm not like, I'm not a professional. I'm still learning. My preference is long guns. I have shotguns, that's what I like.
Uh,
um and
I
I'm
don't
not
have one yet.
I have shotguns. I just don't like. I'm not into pistols, but it is what it is. Everybody has a preference. But for people, like, especially politicians, to talk about things they really don't have a clue about is concerning too. You know what I mean? Like, he's speaking, but he doesn't even know what a semi-automatic is. You know what I mean? People, like, they're talking about these things, but are they gun owners themselves?
No,
Probably not.
no, not at all. That's I'm by far no expert myself either.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
We both grew up in New York City. So you
Yeah.
said you're from East Harlem. I'm from the Lower East Side. So same
Same.
thing. There's
Yeah.
no gun ranges in the Lower East Side. You know. So
I never, honestly, I never thought that I would be into it. Like, my dad was a Marine. His division was infantry. And before he passed away, he always used to say, you need to get a firearm. And I used to be like, no, I don't need that. Why would I do that? Like, that's ridiculous. Um, but in hindsight, he was onto something.
especially as a woman, as a woman, it's the great equalizer. It's like
Mhm.
a man attacks you. Let's be realistic, even though they're trying to say there's no difference between men and women.
There's a
You
difference.
know, you look like what? You're like 120,
125.
125. I'm close. I'm
Okay, yeah.
260. So if I'm coming to attack you, that gun is
You
going to
gonna
be an
win. You
equalizer.
gonna win. You
Yeah.
gonna win.
So so to me, when they go, it's they'll try to make it like a sex issue. They'll try to make it a people of color issue, and it's like, no, it's not, because as let's say as a woman for yourself, if you're there, if you're being attacked by a man, you need that gun. Either you don't even need to shoot him, because if as long as you whip it out, they're most likely going to run.
Yeah,
They're not
and
going to want to
the
stay.
thing too is that Jersey laws and New York laws are real crazy. Like, somebody can come to your house, and you have to make sure you're showing self-defense, or and it's almost like you can't even pull out certain things, because if you pull it out, if that person doesn't carry, then you can go to jail. Like, there's so many, like, it's so murky.
Yeah, and
Uh,
I think that in Jersey is you don't have, there's no castle doctrine. Like, you literally, you have to, I think you have to actually flee, and if they don't let you flee, then you could finally shoot them. Where like in Texas, it's like, you get on my property, I tell you to leave, you don't leave,
yep.
you're dead.
Yep.
And you're fine with it.
It's pretty sad. It's
Hmm.
pretty sad. But
No,
yep,
that's
that's
yeah.
how
And I
it is.
mean,
And I don't know if you've seen lately, but people who are able to carry the good guys, and then like let's say they're in a situation where they see almost like a mass shooting about to take place. There was a woman who actually shot this guy. She was carrying a license. She had the right
mhm.
to carry, and she basically saved a whole bunch of people's
Yeah,
lives.
that was in West Virginia. I heard about
Yeah,
that. Yeah, because you had some idiot senator going, "Well, I've never seen a good person with a gun stop a bad guy with a gun," and it's like, well, one is cops. Cops have guns. They're always stopping other people with guns. And you
hmm
have that story from West Virginia. You hear it all the time. I shouldn't say you hear it all the time. The problem is
we don't hear it all the time,
we don't. The media don't report it.
right?
That's the whole problem. The media will report the school shooting, but they won't report that lady. It won't be on CNN that that lady saved a bunch of people at, I think it was a graduation party or something
Yep.
like that.
Yep. And,
So
and it's happened before. Like it's happened where good people take the stand. And I think that the reason why they don't want that is because they don't want good people to protect themselves. They want the government to protect us. But we
well,
all
that's
know
the whole thing. They yeah, the government wants the control, and that's why I made a video. It's like it's not about guns anymore. It's about control.
yes.
And the whole thing about it is like I said, you see what's going on in China, that they're still locking people down in their cities. You had Canada with the extended lockdown. You had Australia that had camps, vacation camps, what they called them, but they were locking people up with COVID in camps
Mm-hmm.
in Australia. Why can't they do that here? Because people will flip out.
Yeah.
Even here, look at our COVID response. You had New York locked down completely. You had, like, let's say Texas and Florida did small lockdowns, but for the most part kept things open.
Mm-hmm.
Just because the fact that more people with guns in Florida and Texas, they're gonna wild out.
Yeah, I think the states like the South, I just think that they just locked and ready. Like they ready for this. And I think that's why our government is nervous. And the government will say, "Oh, but why we have an army. We have an army. Why would we be scared of the regular people?" Because the more we have more people than they have of people in the services.
Well, yeah,
Like,
look at, I mean, you look at like Afghanistan. Look at Afghanistan.
hmm,
U.S. military in there for 20 years couldn't beat the Taliban. Why? They knew the terrain. They would do like guerrilla warfare wins.
right?
Unless you're gonna go and nuke, unless you're gonna go nuke a place,
That's right.
there's not much you could do. If
It's
you
not.
gotta win the hearts and minds, and that's
Exactly.
right now the government's losing that right now.
They are. It's
And
sad. And,
no,
and and it's like a lot of people will say, "Oh, but tear down the government and start a whole new one." I don't necessarily believe that that's the way. I just believe we need a level of transparency and a level
Mhm.
of good people in the right places.
I
You know what
think
I mean?
also we need to go. We need to go back to we're supposed to be um, a representative democracy. People want to talk about we're a democracy. We're a republic. We're supposed to, the good thing about our system is we have, the federalist system is the fact that, what, if you want gun, like for all these people who want gun control, go move to New York, go move to Illinois, you can move, you can vote with your feet and go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to try to, pass a law that it's going to affect everybody. Go,
Right.
if you think gun control is so good, the Northeast is a great place for you to live.
Yep.
You got these people from California moving to Texas trying to turn it blue, and I go, why? You just
That's
left the
what
shithole in California. What are you doing?
Yeah, that's what I always like to message to everybody, and that's the migrations are cool and you think you're doing something for your livelihood in a sense, but at the end of the day migrations don't always mean that things are going to stay the way they are when you get there. And that's
Mhm.
the thing with that is that don't like people are like, well, these people are moving because they don't like what's happening here, but don't think that they don't have a level of of that ingredients of turning a state into a blue state, or that level of ingredients to bring what they've experienced into the state that they're going to. You know what I mean? Like people,
Yeah.
the whole migration thing, like it's a little worrisome because I feel like people think that things going to stay the same all the time in that particular state, you know?
No, they're oblivious. They leave a state like California. I always give that example because I lived in Texas,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and these people move to Texas. And I remember I would talk to some of them because they're like, "Oh, you're from New York. You think like me?" And I'm like, "No, there's a reason I left New York. You know,
Mm-hmm.
New York is the let's say property taxes. Property taxes are could be high in some parts in Texas, not as high, still not as high as New York, but they don't have an income tax.
Mm.
So they do everything off the property taxes. They're very, they're very strict with how they spend their money, and with some stuff, which what I is different than growing up in New York. The churches actually do a lot of stuff for the community in
Wow.
in Texas. Like the churches, like let's say I remember the church I was going to every like twice a year they would go out into the community and let's say they would help an elderly person fix their fence and their
Mhm.
yard, or they'd go to like a community park and clean it up and paint it up and all that stuff, not paying any money. Like the city wasn't giving the money to do those activities. It was
Right.
just done.
Right.
And you don't see that in you don't see that in New York. I mean, I grew up Catholic, so I never seen the Catholic Church do anything like that.
Me too. I grew up Catholic. That got old pretty quickly.
Yeah, I went to when we moved to Texas. It was like I told my wife, I'm like, she's like, I want to go back to church because her father had just passed away, and I'm like, we could go to whatever church you want. I'm just not going back to the Catholic Church. I'm
Yeah,
I'm
no,
done with the Catholic Church.
I'm done with
Let's
that.
just go. I know people are gonna get offended by we're saying that, but no, I have a special needs son, so I,
Hmm.
I I know how it was to be the loud kid at a Catholic church where they put you into the room with the speaker, and it's like, no, I didn't want that for my son. So we
Yeah.
found a church with special needs for that had like a special needs ministry, and it was awesome because he could go there. They would teach him the way as best as they could. They would teach him the Bible and all that stuff, and it was nice. It was nice to see that. It's still hard to find. Like
Hmm.
now that I'm up here, there's no churches up here that do that.
Yeah.
So it's hard, but but that's the difference between down south and these people. Like I said, these people come from these other states and they forget why they moved.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
forget why they moved. Like you moved because property taxes were too high, income tax was too high, and then you go to a state and you're there. Okay, life's good now, but then I'm gonna go and want to change it to where I left from.
Yeah. I don't get that.
I,
Yeah.
that to me,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's the thing. The migrations are. I hope people realize migrations are not always. I mean, the migration thing is definitely something that people need to look out for, because I believe that you still bring a level of your beliefs with you, regardless if you're running from something.
yeah. I agree with that. It's like you have like the irony is like you have these like the migrant caravans coming from like Central and South America,
Hmm.
and the Democrats want to bring them here because they think that that's going to be a voting block for them,
Hmm. It will.
and
It will. It will, because
it
if
will
it
in the
will
beginning.
because yeah, it will, because right in the beginning, it will, because I mean, I've been to other countries and I'm going to tell you, although we have our issues here, we are a good country. We are a
Yeah,
good country compared to what I've seen in Dominican Republic, what I've seen in Jamaica, what I've seen on vacation and stuff like that. So it's very easy for these people to come from these countries and say, "Wow, this is life. This is great. I would do anything for this country." Um, but it's a slap in the face for us, because the reason why they're letting these people in is because they know that we've been jaded. We're done. We know what's right and what's wrong, and they don't want to invest in us because they know that the people are awakened.
yeah.
So it's important that these people come from other countries, because obviously these people are going to think that this place is great. So I see the cards they're playing. um
No, I see it too. I mean, I seen it. I remember I had a friend from Venezuela when I lived in Texas, and this was 2016. So he saw like the Bernie stuff. Like he was terrified. He was terrified. He goes
Okay.
these type of what Bernie's promising. He's like, he compared it to Chavez when Chavez took over Venezuela,
Mhm.
because a lot of people don't know this, because people think now, oh, Venezuela is poor, you know, but before Chavez took over, they were one of the richest countries in Latin America.
Yeah, they have oil, right? Don't they have
Yeah, they
oil?
have oil. Yeah, they have a lot. And what happened was they privatized the oil and thinking that was going to bring them more money, but it's like what happened in like in the Soviet Union and in China. When they take over, the people with the knowledge of, like in China, I'll give you the example because I'm more familiar with it. In China, they took the farms away from the people who knew how to farm, and they just put like peasants that didn't know shit. Oh, here, farm. They didn't know what the hell to do.
Right.
So there was a great famine because the fact that they put people in these farms that didn't know what the hell they were doing.
Yep.
So no one knew how to grow food. So millions of people died because no one knew how to grow food.
Yep. Yep. And that's kind of what they're gonna do here.
Yeah, no, it's really scary. I mean,
Because if you think about it, none of us grew up learning how to farm.
no,
Like none of us, like I could probably go hunting, but now how I'm gonna preserve that deer? I have no clue how to preserve a deer.
hmm
No clue.
no,
Don't even know how I would skin one. I don't even know. I have no clue. Honestly, I have no desire. But we are already dependent on our government, even though we don't all want to believe it. But we can't survive.
well, there's a lot of us that, I mean, and that's the funny thing, that when you're talking about down south, a lot of those people will, like,
No,
you
they
get,
will. They definitely will. The inner cities, though, like New York City, we don't know how to
oh yeah,
deer.
no, yeah, no, definitely no. The cities with all this stuff that's going on, they're screwed. I'm trying to get my parents to move out of New York, and you know, they
That's
just
what I did. I moved my mom out of Harlem, and she's in Jersey.
my
Um,
mom. My mom won't even do that.
my
My mom
mom
won't
did.
even do that.
I mean, I gave my mom like I told her like either find yourself a place or I'm gonna do it, and then we just did it. It is what it is. Like I just can't. I'm not saying that where I'm at is any safer, but at the same time, like I'm not trying to get a call that my mom was on a bus and somebody shot her. You feel me? Like
I've
I'm not trying to hear that.
I've been
I'm not
trying.
trying to hear
The
that.
bank across the street from my where my parents live got robbed. I found this out from a friend of mine. And also from him, I remember last summer, the park across the street from my parents' house, there was a shootout, and I'm just there like, oh my god. And she's like, oh, but I like to walk everywhere. I don't want to have to drive everywhere. And I'm
My
like,
mom too, she loves to walk and she loves to be out there, but you know what? We'll be inconvenienced, but your safety is key to me. And the way New York is moving right now, it's gonna
it's like,
it's not gonna work.
I'm, I grew up in the 80s because I was born in 79.
Me too.
So, so I know how bad I don't know how bad New York was. I can't remember how bad New York was because they say it was worse in the 70s than it
It
was
was
in the
bad.
80s.
It was bad.
And,
Mhm.
but I do remember in the 80s, I remember, I mean, so maybe we're about the same age.
Yeah, I'm
So,
born in '84, the crack era. So me
yes.
around the crack era.
So you remember playing in the park and collecting the vials
Yes.
and sorting them by color and all that stuff.
It's disgusting. Yeah.
Yes. To think about it now that I did that stuff, and I'm like, we're kids. We didn't know what the hell. We were just they're colorful. Ooh, I'm gonna collect the
Yep.
colors.
There
You
were
know.
colors. I used to see them in the puddles and I used to like let them float and shit.
Yeah. I remember my parents told me never to walk in the grass because
Because of
we
the
were
bottom.
well, no, because the needles, because like
Yeah, 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 yeah. You could get
you didn't want to step into step on a needle when especially that was the beginning of AIDS. So it's like
Mhm.
it was all like, yeah, no.
Traumatizing, right? Wasn't it traumatizing in a sense?
You know what? It was, but at the same time, it was character building
Oh,
because I find that our generation was the last we were the first generation to really get the internet, but we were still there. We were able to enjoy life before the internet. So like
Correct.
my parents would let me go and play in the park by myself or with my cousins, and everything was fine.
Hmm.
But nobody wants to let their kids do that now.
No, no, no.
Even me, I'll go there with my daughter and I'm like, um, if I don't hear her, if I don't see her, I'm like, where the hell did she go? Where is she?
Yeah, I mean, I feel terrible for the kids. The kids, I mean, I don't even like have the experience to understand what they're going through. I'm like, I don't know about you, but I feel like I don't even have the experience of, or like even the coaching to deal with the type of world that we're living in right now. Like I had no coaching on a pandemic. I've heard of them, but never imagined I lived in one. Um, if you want to call it a pandemic. Um, but like some things I just didn't have experience in. I don't know. I know you know Ian Smith, but like he's definitely a pioneer in the fitness industry because he never shut down. A lot of us
Mhm.
shut down because we were told that if we don't, we're not being good people. You know what I mean? Like we just a lot of people didn't have experience. And you asked about the awakening, and I think I've always been awakened. I just think I chose to be in the coma for a while. And then when the shutdown happened, I was forced to wake up again and say, no, you need to open your eyes and stop sleeping. Like my whole business was shut down for 3 months. I have 3 locations. Um, and instead of staying in my house, I had to make this money to pay this mortgage. So I started driving Lyft and started driving throughout the whole pandemic. And I tell people this story all the time. Through the pandemic, I was driving Lyft without a mask. And I'm going to tell you, if it was as crazy as they said it was, I would have had more clients in my car and I would have been rushing people to the emergency room. I was in those streets from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. I didn't see the things that they said that was happening.
Oh, I mean, for me, I remember in the beginning, like maybe like the first month or so, why why we were worried was because like we ended up, I had my brother-in-law died, my wife's uncle died, my aunt died, and my
Sorry.
cousin died, all within about a month. So
COVID.
of
COVID was
COVID, yeah.
COVID.
Well, with COVID because they had complications. Like one had Hep B, one was already older in age. One had diabetes.
Yep.
So there was, those cofactors.
Yep.
But I know that in hindsight now.
Yeah.
But I always used to tell, like, when people used to freak out, I'm like, all the people I know died had issues. Like
Yes.
it wasn't like I don't know one healthy person that
Hmm.
died from COVID
Yeah.
personally. Like I
Yeah.
know they say they exist, and I'm not saying that they don't, but for me personally, everyone I know that died of COVID were already sick to begin with,
And
somewhat.
another thing too is a lot of people will say, well, no, this person was perfectly healthy. Well, let me tell you, a lot of people are walking around not knowing what they got. They're
Yes.
walking around with heart murmurs. They don't even know that they have a heart murmur. There's
Hmm.
underlying issues that people are not catching in our healthcare industry. So in the healthcare industry. So a lot of people could say what they want to say, but you don't know somebody's labs. You don't know somebody's makeup. You don't know if they have conditions that they are not even aware of.
Well, let's say, for example, like I said, so you're fit, you're 125 pounds, but let's say, I mean, you're in the fitness industry, so you probably take vitamin D supplements,
Hmm.
where most people don't.
Right.
So you could be 125 pounds, but if you're vitamin D deficient, your immune system's not going to be as strong as someone who takes, like, I've been taking vitamin D for like 20 years.
See?
So I'm like, every time they test my level's always good.
Right.
I've
Right.
never
So
been
yeah,
come out.
so people think like I know my mom used to argue with me a lot about vitamins and I say but with all of this happening, I realized like our foods, everything we have, they've purposely taken certain vitamins out all in the efforts to depopulate the people.
Yeah.
Like everything that's happening right now is I call it different revenue streams when it comes to depopulation, right? So they find every way in how to basically depopulate. If it's not through sickness, it's through social experiences, it's through
Mhm.
all types. They have all these streams of depopulation.
Well, it's
And
funny that's what I say about the whole, wanting to let kids transition. It's like putting the kids on puberty blockers because they feel like they're a girl or they're a boy, and I'm like, all you're doing is making these kids infertile. You're
Mhm.
sterilizing these kids, and then they're gonna grow up. Oh, I wanted to have a kid. No, you can't now.
Because you decided at 10 that you felt like a certain way,
Yeah.
which we all know. Because even with me, the things I did when I was 22, now at 38, I look back and go, oh my goodness, what was I thinking?
Or
So
like,
it's like, how could you even allow a 10-year-old to make that decision when you know at 22 and 21 is the legal adult age in this country, in a sense, in certain things?
mm-hmm.
Like, you know that who you are at 18 is not who you're going to be at 38. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, it's
People,
true, and it's like they say an 18-year-old's not mature enough to buy a gun. To piggyback what we were talking about before, but a 10-year-old could make a life-changing decision on their gender.
it's crazy. It's crazy.
It's, no, it's
Hypocrisy. It's hypocrisy, and it's showing. And that's what I'm saying about the transparency. Um, we don't have transparency, and our leaders have failed us. And I'm not like before. I was like, oh, Republicans, Republicans. When I grew up as a Democrat. So like Democrats was always the way.
yeah.
Um, and now I'm a nothing person. I'm listening to the issues and I'm going to see who resonates for me. I
I'm
even feel very disillusioned with voting, honestly. I believe.
I'm not at that point yet. I've I'm more of a libertarian. I voted libertarian. Trump was the first time I voted either Republican or Democrat for president ever. Ever was Trump.
Yep.
Before that, I voted for Gary Johnson, uh, Gary Johnson twice. I even voted to show you how Democrat I was. I voted Ralph Nader
Oh my
in
God.
2000. It's just
I
because
couldn't vote yet. I couldn't vote yet, but I wrote for Obama. I vote for Obama because I got, that was an emotional vote. That was a vote based on the fact that I wanted to see somebody that looked like me on the stage. Again, I was what, 18, 19 when I did that. Now look at me now. I didn't vote for Hillary or Trump first go around. You know what I mean? I didn't. Because
I didn't vote for I didn't vote for Hillary when I was still a Democrat and she ran for Senate in New York. That was my first election. I could not vote for her. I knew she wanted to use New York as a jumping point so she could
Mhm.
run for president.
Yep.
I'm like, no, go back to your home state. Don't come use my state for that
Yeah.
nonsense.
Like, I just feel like the sad thing about voting right now, and it's always been this way, is that all you hear people say, hey, you have to pick the best of the two evils. It's
Yeah,
become a eeny, meeny, miny, mo situation. Um, and it's just,
yeah,
it's,
no, that the lesser of two evils is still evil.
yeah. And
I agree with
that's the thing that I just can't settle on. Like, I just can't settle on. In
that's
Jersey,
why
we had Jack Trivarelli and Murphy, right? They both were running, and again, the lesser of the two evils. Um, Trivarelli was winning. I went to sleep. The next day, 40,000 ballots arrived in North Bergen, Jersey, and then Murphy was the winner. So it's just like those are the things where I'm just like, do our votes really matter?
I go sometimes it's you got to make them have to you have to vote just because the fact that you have to make it so hard for them to cheat. Like, because if you don't vote, then it's easy for them to cheat because they could take your name and you not even know it.
That's facts. Yeah.
Because it happened to a friend of mine. Her husband went to go vote, and they told him, "No, you already voted," and he's like, "No, I didn't."
Well, my friend actually, one of my BFF, she's Russian, and she wasn't an American citizen yet. She was just getting her. She just had her green card,
Mhm.
and they actually sent her a ballot for the Trump and Biden
Election.
election. Yeah,
Yeah.
And she did the responsible thing. She called them. She said, listen, I'm not an American citizen. How could you guys give this to me? And they were like, oh, we're sorry. Just, throw it out, throw it out. But imagine how many other people that happened to and they voted.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm like I said, I'm in the Poconos now, but I had gotten a mail-in ballot from Texas. I'm like, are you serious? It literally, if they, it got sent to my old address in Texas and then forwarded over here. I'm like, really?
Yep. That's how
I just
desperate
was
they
like,
are.
no, uh,
Sad and sad.
no, yeah. So I mean, that's why I laugh when they go, oh, this was the most secure election ever. It's like, no, it wasn't. Look,
No.
you could say Biden won. I don't care. Biden won. If there was shenanigans, there was shenanigans. But don't gaslight us and tell us it was the most. No, it wasn't, because most elections, when they do like the mail-in ballots,
Mhm.
I think it's like 3 to 5% get rejected every year.
Wow.
Every election. This election, it was like less than 1%.
And the fact that you had to mail in this ballot because of COVID is the most suspicious thing in the whole wide world.
Oh no,
Like,
yeah, I'm against. I get into a disagreement with one of my friends, and he's a Republican, and he goes, I go, it shouldn't be easy to vote. Now I think like election day should be a holiday. I think election day should be a holiday, so like that everybody could go vote. But this whole nonsense of mail-in ballots for everybody, no. You know what? If you have a legitimate excuse, you're disabled, you're sick or something like that. Yeah, I get it. You need a mail-in ballot,
right.
but there's no excuse if we make election day a holiday and say maybe like 1 week early voting, because even early voting to me could be suspicious.
It's suspicious. Yes, I agree.
But you give people that stuff and you go, okay, because this mail-in ballots is bullshit. Because like you said, you went to bed and your candidate was winning, and then you wake up and it's like, what? That's what happened to us in Pennsylvania. Trump was winning Pennsylvania, then all of a sudden, oh, this precinct came in from Philadelphia and Pittsburgh that pushed Biden way over the top. It's like, are you
And
serious?
I don't know if you remember when we were growing up, the polls closed at 9 o'clock. We had an answer by 11 o'clock. Lately,
Yeah,
the trend has been this. Now we don't know who wins for a month. We don't know who wins for 2 months until the actual person takes the actual office. So like I think that if we're having these polls happening, they need to end at 9 and we need a final number before end of day.
yeah,
Before
no,
end of day. And
I
it's
agree.
not been like that. And it's changed. I remember growing up, we would know by tomorrow
Yeah.
who's the winner. Now, no, we got to get lawyers involved. We got to get shit recounted. Then that's where I'm like, what is the change? Why is there a change to this?
I Me personally, my opinion, I think it's just the polarization that's gone on in this country. It's like, because people are split among tribes. It's not even, you know, like right now, let's say abortion. The Republicans and the conservatives, they've always been against abortion. They've always there's no new stance for them. But like the Democrats, it used to be safe, legal, and rare, which I'm still a opponent. I'm still go safe, legal, and rare. I go, but this whole now the new Democrat stance is up to birth, and
Yeah,
it's like,
I know that's my biggest problem. My thing is that there needs to be a time limit when you make this decision. I've spoken to some people who are pregnant, who've been pregnant. Sometimes women don't know until they're 3 months. Okay, listen, that's between you and God. I don't care what these women decide to do. However, I think if you're getting an abortion at 7 months, 8 months, yo, you wild. That's wild. To
yeah,
me, that's
my
wild.
my son was born premature. My son, I
Exactly.
used to be up to six. I used to actually, my son changed my mind because I used to be up to 6 months so you could get an abortion, and my son was born at 24 weeks. Okay, my son's going to be 15. All right. So my son changed my mind on that because I'm like, you know what? If a child could survive outside of the womb at 24 weeks, there's no way you should be having an abortion.
Yeah. So
It's
like,
like,
and then
and
my thing is this: when I'm fighting for vaccination rights and freedom, medical freedom, right? And I'm out there protesting and telling people like, listen, this is government overreach. They don't have the right to tell you what to do with your body. I always say this, I feel like a broken record. We get our licenses. We stop at the red light. We pay our taxes. We do everything as American citizens. The only thing we have in this life is our bodies. That's it. Everything
Mhm.
else, everything else is regulated. If you want to get a boat to sail, you need a license for that. Everything in this country is regulated.
You want to go fishing, you need a
You
license.
need a license. You need a license for everything. You need to everything is everything.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying here is when it came to the vaccinations, that's when I was, and they were saying, you can't do this, you can't work here, you can't do this, you can't do that. That's when I was like, no, this is overreach. I'm not dealing with this, and I'm going to say what I want to say. But then they start talking about abortion. Now everybody's up in arms, right? A huge amount of people are pissed about this.
Mhm.
But when people were fighting about vaccinations, you guys were nowhere to be found, because
No.
that's how this country is. It's like you could be pro-choice, but pro-choice for certain things.
Yeah,
And
no, that's the irony. They'll go. That's where I talk about the tribalism, because with the abortion topic, like I said, now all of a sudden there's this new stance, and because the Republicans are against it, I have to be for this new stance. You can't
Mhm.
have that nuanced position anymore. So it's that whole my body, my choice. But when it comes to the vaccines, fuck you. We're going to fire you from your job because you don't have a vaccine.
yeah. So it's
It's
it's crazy. I can go vote without an ID, but I need a vaccination card to get into a restaurant.
yeah,
Make it make sense. Like I don't get it. People just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous, and it's just like the coma game is so real. Some people just don't want to wake up. They
no,
they they were like me, and I get it. But I'm at a point now, right, Rican, is this. I am at a point I don't have patience for those people who know what's going on but don't say anything or do anything.
yeah. That's why this is a simple fix. This is what I do, and it pisses people off, and I don't give a shit. When your friends who voted for Biden, when they complain about how high the gas prices are, tell them, but you voted for it, and they hate to hear that
I know,
because
and I actually put a comment on New York Post because New York Post is crazy, but they're just saying that now gas is at five something. It's at $10 somewhere in California right now, by the
yeah,
way. It's just so funny that your Biden and Kamala supporters are like this right now.
yeah,
They're not saying a word.
no,
But let this have been Trump. Oh boy, it would have been riots.
oh
It would
yeah,
have been all types of shit going on. But because these people voted the way they voted, now, but where's all the Kamala supporters? Y'all was so happy to see a woman of color in a position, but yet because you allow your emotions to get the best of you, you can't even call this woman out. It's kind of like what we were talking about before we started, and that is you have to be able to call people out, even though you agree, you support them. You get what I'm
hmm
saying? Like
yeah,
if
no,
you're a
definitely,
Kamala supporter, then more power to you. But be at a place where you can say, you know what, this bitch is wrong for this part.
yeah,
But
no, I agree with you. Like that's like I used to win arguments with people when they would talk about Trump, or what they're like, look, listen, I understand Trump's an asshole. I'm not going to sit here and tell you he's not an asshole because I'd be full of shit if I tell you he's not an asshole. But that's not a reason not to vote for him. You
you
know,
don't know you don't know how many times people were like, I can't stand Trump. And my response to them was, why? And they could not articulate why. Nobody can articulate why. They just say, oh, I don't like him.
oh
And
yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, in the beginning, when Hurricane Maria happened in Puerto Rico, I was upset with the response. I was upset that the media caught him throwing paper towels at people. I was caught up in that shit. Like I didn't
yeah,
like it. But then I started hearing the facts. The facts are there was aid sent to Puerto Rico. Intentionally, these aids were blocked on purpose to create the narrative that nobody gave a fuck about Puerto Rico.
yeah,
When there
yeah.
were multiple warehouses full of aid for these people.
Not only that, they let that shit right outside. They had like bottles of water that were all like melted, being in the heat.
So like the media created this narrative where everybody, and I'm going to be honest, I was like, oh my God, because obviously I'm Puerto Rican and I
Yep.
felt some type of way about it. and we saw a migration of Puerto Ricans coming into Jersey. And I was just like, but then I started to, I think they were filming that there was aid. It was the government and the corruption in Puerto Rico that was blocking the aid for these people.
Yeah, the mayor of San Juan, she was a real piece of shit.
Yeah.
She
And
just
the
wanted
thing is,
her 5 minutes of fame to shit on Trump so she could get she could run for governor, and she lost. Thank God.
thank God, but Puerto Rico's in shambles still.
No, it's really sad. But what ended up happening was because of that, a lot of like the professionals moved out of Puerto Rico.
Mhm.
That's what's going on. You're getting a brain drain in Puerto Rico that a lot of the people that could afford to leave are leaving.
Yes.
Like I seen it in Texas because a lot of the well off to do Puerto Ricans left for Texas or parts of Florida, not all of Florida,
Hmm.
because there's parts where the poor people of Florida went, like Jacksonville.
Hmm.
But like,
Well, in Puerto Rico, if you decide to move there and you're wealthy and you buy property over there, they'll give you tax abatements over there.
yeah,
So that's so the problem. What's going on over there? I just saw this clip this girl put me on that basically they're buying the people out of their properties, and Puerto Rico is giving them tax breaks. So it's hurting the people in Puerto Rico right now because they're not getting the same benefits that an outsider would get.
no, yes, but they're trying to do that because they're trying to encourage. Let's say if you get like these rich people that come there, they're going to invest there. They're going to, let's say they're going to bring their businesses there
Mhm.
because which is going to in turn bring extra tax revenue to the I
And the
was going to say
taxes
to
are
the
super
state.
low over there. The taxes are super low. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's
Well,
sad.
the Puerto Ricans hate taxes.
Yeah, I know.
That's the one thing. It's like I remember when they first built the toll road from what is it from Ponce to like it might be to San Juan, but I don't remember. But like my wife's relatives, they were like, I never take that shit. I ain't paying a toll to get on the road. And it's like, okay.
Well, that's
That's why
America.
the rest of the roads are shitty and these are nice.
Right.
You get what you pay for. It's like what I remember in Texas, you had the free highway and you had the tollway.
The free
The
highway is
free
going to have
highway
more traffic.
had more traffic, it had more like
Potholes.
potholes, where the tollway, they keep that shit pristine.
Yep. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Money makes the world go round. But Puerto
But
Rico, yeah.
I have to get ready to get out of here.
Okay.
I just I want to thank you
Thank you
for
for
coming
having
on.
me.
I hope you'll come on again.
Yeah,
I'd
we'll
love
do.
to do your show maybe one time too.
Yeah. We gotta get up. We're gonna start doing our interviews after the summertime.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm basically I'm a stay at home dad, so
Ooh,
so
must be nice. Must be nice. No joking.
it's stressful.
I
It's
know.
not. It's like what, being a stay at home dad right now. It's like I feel for my mom now when I was growing up. It's like
It's work.
there's certain meals that I make that she used to make, and I'm like, shit. Now I see what she used to make that because it's so easy. Like a whole blanco with corned beef and French fries.
Oh my God, corned beef. Corned
It's so
beef.
easy to make, and it's like, okay, now I see why she used to make that all the time,
Shit is cheap too.
and it was cheap. Not anymore, but it was cheap back then. It's not
Yeah.
anymore. Corned beef is $4 a can.
Damn. I remember eating spam. I will never eat spam again. But listen, I do have it in my pantry just in case we going through some food shortage.
Yep. I have spam, I have corned beef, I have salchichas, Vienna
Oh, I
sausage for
hate
your people
all
who
of
don't
that
understand.
shit. I will not
I have
eat that.
I have all that stuff in my basement because even before this was before COVID, but I did all that stuff.
I know.
But anyway, yeah.
All right. Be well.
Well,
Thank
like I
you.
said, thank you for coming on, and I hope to
We'll,
have you on again soon.
we'll be in touch for sure.
All right. Have
All
a
right.
good one.
All right.
All
Bye
right.
bye.
Bye.